The Galactic Council had received Earth much like one would take in a lost pet. Entertained, intrigued, but never threatened. To the wider galaxy, humans seemed fragile. They arrived bearing music, paintings, handshakes, and oaths of friendship. They sought treaties, cooperation, and trade. Their technology lagged by decades. Their ships crawled slower than derelicts adrift, and their warriors remained unseen. Instead, humanity offered thinkers, dreamers, and envoys of peace. They came to assist. They came with warmth. And they never once raised their tone. So when Earth earned its chair among the Council, relief spread. Just another harmless species, another set of envoys who would yield when pressed. None noticed the silence that followed. None caught the lingering stares of human eyes, or how their scholars always inquired about collapses, grid outages, weapon faults, medical breakdowns. They didn't see what Drenelar did. Ralph was the Overon Union's chief strategist and the most suspicious man across 3 sectors. His own people had once ruled with iron and fear, so he knew restraint when he spotted it. He watched the humans closely, especially one of their lead envoys, a man called Ambassador Marcus Vale. Marcus was young by most measures, calm, deliberate, smiling often. But Ralph had seen him once in a border summit when a drunken Tarav delegate mocked Earth's military strength. Marcus didn't reply. He didn't flinch. He simply scribbled in a black journal, offered a polite smile, and excused himself. That Tarav delegate was dead 3 weeks later. Food poisoning, the report claimed, though his vessel's air filtration system had just been replaced by a Terran contractor. Ralph remembered, just as he remembered when humans lost their petition for Verilion 3, that world brimmed with Zithium. Both the Krath Dominion and Terran Federation claimed it, but the Council awarded it to the Krath. Typical. The Krath thrived. On influence and intimidation, humans didn't even resist. Ambassador Vale bowed politely, clasped hands with the Krath warlords, and praised their victory. Then Earth dismantled its base on Verilion 3 and withdrew. 2 months later, the Krath station erupted. A reactor surge. Engineers lost, scientists gone. The detonation killed thousands. And when pressed, humans presented records showing their last freighter had departed well before the disaster. No signs of sabotage, no cause, no proof. Still, the Krath struck back. They destroyed a Terran relay hub. 10 dead, no arms, no defenses. Earth replied with a short statement mourning the warning. Fallen. No threats, no mobilization, and silence followed. For nearly a year, humanity vanished. Their envoys absent, trade dwindled, technical support gone. Earth folded inward. Too still. Too quiet. Ralpha's dread deepened, yet no one heeded. There. Cowards, said one delegate. They dread war, claimed another. None had studied Marcus Vale as Ralph had. Then it came. Krath Prime, the core of the minion's heart, flared like a dying star. Not struck from orbit, not by fleets. Above, but from within. From moons leased long ago to Terran mining groups, from stations built under the guise of ecological projects. They weren't research hubs. They were silos, hidden and buried, biding their time. Black vessels rose like wraiths, silent, unseen by radar. They bore no banners, no signals. They fired no beams or missiles. Instead, they released tungsten. Rods, plunging at orbital speeds. No energy trails, only sheer force. Cities collapsed. Command centers vanished in firestorms. The Krath fleet scrambled, only to find infection spreading. AI plagues hidden in Terran goods now hijacked their own systems. In 6 hours, the Krath fleet was ash. No broadcast, no ultimatum, just erasure. On the 7th day, a man entered the council hall. No escorts, no ceremony, just Marcus Vale. His hair streaked gray, his expression unreadable. He set a slim tablet on the table. We warned you, he said quietly. We asked for peace. But peace is not weakness, it is patience. Silence consumed the chamber. You mistook our smiles for softness. You thought our bows meant fear, but we were watching, learning. And now you understand. Ralph stared at him, and in that instant, he saw the truth. Humans were never pacifists. They were patient predators. The council sat frozen beneath Marcus Vale's calm decree. No words, no motion. His voice lingered like smoke after flame. A Verlian trade envoy parted his lips, then shut them again. The craft chair sat vacant, nothing left but a black monument to their fall. Marcus waited for no praise, no debate. He rose, dipped his head, and departed as though leaving a routine briefing. As the doors closed, fear finally rooted. Ralph remained watching. Former enemies of Earth now sat hushed. Bravado shrunk into wary glances. The Varnak Confederacy, infamous for bioweapons, had already begun erasing files. The tall Azure Ishi, once cold and proud, now murmured of urgent embassies to Earth. Even Thagorthok, warriors of legend, had already begun pulling fleets from Terran borders. But Ralph wasn't shaken like the rest. He was impressed. Aboard the Terran vessel's hushed corridors, Marcus Vale shed his coat and sat alone in his quarters. The lighting was dim, the only sound the low hum of life support and the faint pulse of a living ship. Screens lined the walls, showing only the abyss outside, but Marcus wasn't gazing at stars. He was fixed on the feeds. One window showed the ruins of Craft Prime, still smoldering beneath dust and atmospheric collapse. Another displayed Terran losses, 10 names anchored at the bottom, marked as sacrificed, not fallen. He tapped the glass once, twice before releasing the breath he'd been holding too long. They had done what needed doing, what the Council never believed they would dare. Not in fury, but because the waiting had ended. On Earth, the narrative was already shifting. Media hailed the quiet triumph, though few knew its depth. Leaders praised the return of respect, but Marcus knew truth. There was no victory here. Only survival dressed as revenge. A soft tone drew his eyes to the door. "Enter," he said. Captain Ryle stepped in, tall, broad, one of the rare Earthborn trusted with black clearance. She didn't salute. None did anymore. This wasn't a military. Not outwardly. "It's finished?" she asked. Marcus inclined his head. Cleanup teams confirmed deletion. Craft systems wiped. Fleets dismantled. Civilian nets left intact, as ordered. Ryle arched a brow. "Mercy. Precision," he corrected. "We didn't erase a people. We erased their mistake. They'll endure, but they'll remember." She hesitated, then advanced. "And the others, the ones watching now?" Marcus didn't face her. His eyes stayed on a simulation where red dots spread sector by sector. Human dots. "They'll play nice," he said. "For a time. They'll offer peace. Send apologies. And when they stop pretending..." He turned at last, calm, cold, the same face that gave the order for the first strike. "We remind them." Far in the outer reaches, worlds beyond Council grip began receiving coded Terran signals, waking sleepers. Stations long dormant flickered alive. Cargo craft shifted courses, aligning in quiet grids. Civilians passed checkpoints unnoticed. But they weren't harmless. They were Earth's answer to arrogance. And they were everywhere. Ralph, back in his own sector, no longer doubted Marcus Vale or humanity. He started his report at once, but paused halfway through. What could he write? They had never sought peace. They had sought silence, and now it was theirs. He stared at the words, then erased them. No one would believe. Not yet, but he knew when Earth smiled now, it wasn't diplomacy. It was a warning. Then news of the Krief Dominion's sudden collapse sent shockwaves across every star system in Council territory. Not just because of the destruction, but because of how it happened. Clean, targeted, without a single warning broadcast or demand. The Krath were not defeated in battle. They were simply deleted like a file on a screen, and Earth said nothing. Number. Claims, no parades, no boasts of victory. That silence was what disturbed the galaxy most. Species known for warmongering began peace talks they never would have considered before. Some sent envoys to Earth. Others tried to intercept human ships with forced inspections. Those patrols never returned. And still, humanity didn't respond. With threats or declarations, they didn't need to. They had already said everything. Back on Earth, Marcus Vale stood before a group of analysts inside a declassified Terran intelligence chamber. The room was windowless, bathed in soft light, walls covered in layered star maps, intercepted council chatter, and flagged movement reports from rival species. At the center of it all, a hologram off-galaxy with thousands of red dots. Silent. Units, former researchers, engineers, traders, all waiting on a signal. Marcus looked tired. Not physically, his posture was straight, voice steady, but there was a heaviness in his stare. The look of a man who had held back the blade, so long his hands forgot how to let go. He pointed to 3 star clusters blinking red. Gorak border posts. Have gone quiet. They're reinforcing their moons. We think they're planning a counter-move. A general across the table grunted. Let them. They don't scare easy, but they bleed like everyone else. Marcus didn't smile. We won't act first. But if they step out of line, he paused, tapping the console, shifting the hologram to show Adameline of past Gorthek incursions. We won't give them the same year of patience we gave Theecraft. Another official leaned forward, and the council. Marcus met her eyes. They're praying we stop. Silence. The meeting ended quickly after that. There wasn't much left to discuss. Earth wasn't expanding. Earth wasn't invading, but Earth was watching, and every power in the galaxy knew. Ifu. Unarmed, marked as cultural envoys, were taken without explanation. No charges, no statements, just gone. The council called it unfortunate. Marcus Vale called it expected. He received the report in silence. His office, deep beneath Thirth's surface, felt colder that day, the walls thick with still air and tension. He read the details slowly. No screams, no fights. The humans didn't resist. They let themselves be taken, which to him was the most dangerous part. Humans didn't fear being Takenanamor. They had protocols for this now. The room around him flickered as a secure channel opened. General Hassan's face appeared. Gruff, stonied, fecund of man whose very bones seemed military. They've crossed a line, Hassan said without pleasantries. They crossed at the moment. They thought we were bluffing, Marcus replied. Permission to respond. Marcus leaned back, thought carefully, then nodded once. Silently, no headlines. I don't want martyrs. You want regrets. General Hassan smirked grimly and signed off. 72 hours. Later, the Gorak Deep Space Detention Vessel, Ashrik Val, lost contact with command. The last transmission was a garbled scream followed by static and a flash of light. No distress beacon, no damage trace, just gone. 6 hours after that, Earth released a single statement. 12 of ours went missing. We have retrieved them. There is no need for further dialogue. That message, plain and unthreatening on the surface, sent shockwaves through every power block in the galaxy because the Ashwick Val was believed to be untraceable. Its location was a secret even to most Gorthik officers. No guard shad reported an attack. No weapons had been fired, yet Earth had found it. And Earth had ended it. Inside the council, panic turned to paralysis. Half the members called for urgent peace negotiations with Earth. The other half debated sanctions. But none of them could agree on anything concrete because fear had shattered unity. And in the vacuum of that fear, Marcus Vale moved. He met secretly with smaller civilizations, those too weak to oppose the major empires, those who had suffered long under council injustice. He offered no threats, no demands, just choices. "You've watched what we do when provoked," he said to the leader of the Dathi swarm. "Now imagine what we do for all eyes." That line, delivered with calm precision, echoed through dozens of closed chambers across the stars. World by world, the silent network of Earth's influence spread like roots beneath the surface. Quiet deals, private support, cultural exchanges with military implications, intelligence sharing masked as trade agreements. It wasn't war, it was preparation. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Marcus visited the family of one of the rescued envoys, a young woman named Elra Hosea. She was still recovering from her captivity, but her parents insisted on meeting the man who had brought her home. They offered him tea. He accepted. The conversation was warm, but short. When Marcus stood to leave, Elra's father pulled him aside. "We always thought peace was your job." Marcus looked him in the eyes. "It is," he said, "but sometimes peace needs teeth." He left without another word. That night, alone in his quarters, Marcus listened to an old Terran symphony, a slow, haunting violin piece written during humanity's darkest war. He let it play while he reviewed reports of council troop movements, intercepted comms, and an unusual uptick in defensive fleet activity around Gorthak systems. They were scared, not angry, not offended, scared. And that was the moment Earth had waited for. The moment the galaxy no longer thought of humans as diplomats, pretending to be warriors. Now they saw the truth. Earth didn't keep peace. It controlled it. And if the stars wanted it to remain, they'd have to earn it. The Gorthak response was predictable. They didn't launch a fleet. They didn't broadcast war declarations. No, they did what predators do when they realize they're no longer the apex. They got quiet, too quiet. Earth's intelligence web, no stretching. From the icy moons of Phalar 9 to the orbiting archives of Chernari Prime, picked up subtle movements, ghost convoys, disguised military traffic, energy readings that looked like freighter emissions, but pulsed with the rhythm of warships. Marcus Vale received the reports and said only one thing. "They're abating us." He knew how it worked. The Gorthak didn't want a battle, they wanted a reaction. Something they could twist into propaganda. A Terran misstep, not a moral failure. Something to rebrand Earth not as feared, but as monsters. The galaxy had seen what Earth could do. Now the Gorthak wanted them to overdo it. So Marcus waited. He told his captains, "No fire unless fired upon. No ripples." But not everyone had Marcus' patience. 3 human colonies in fringe sectors were hit within the same week. Not full-scale assaults, just enough to rattle bones. Agricultural equipment destroyed. Cargo transports sabotaged. One colonist shot in the back by what appeared to be a rogue mercenary group, later traced to weapons contracts deed loosely to the Gorak. Still, Earth didn't strike back. Marcus' inner circle fumed. General Hassan wanted a surgical rotation. Captain Ryle offered a plan that would 2 Gorthak moons in under a day. Marcus rejected both. "We don't kill in anger," he said. "We don't play into their story." Instead, he did what Earth had always done best. Had prepared. On an unmarked orbital station above Jupiter's lesser moon, Shalira, Marcus stood in a long steel corridor lit with red-tinged strips. Around him, dozens of people worked in silence. Engineers, data handlers, former soldiers turned analysts. They weren't building ships, they were building simulations. Every possible Gorthakma, every supply chain, every propaganda angle. Earth was creating entire wars in code, rehearsed and refined until there were no surprises left. Marcus. Wachadone simulation run. A Gorath false flag operation leading to council sanctions against Earth. Result: Terran economic collapse in 14 years. Gorthach ascendancy in 9. He ordered 3 covert projects launched immediately. not weapons, narratives. If the Gorthak wanted to use stories, Marcus would write better ones. Soon, stories began spreading in the fringe sectors, not from Earth, but from whispers, smugglers, and concerned diplomats. Stories that the Gorthak were experimenting on prisoners, that they used false peace deals to abduct civilians, that craft scientists had once begged the council to keep humans out, not because they feared war, but because they feared Earth's silence. No proof, no official link, just doubt. And doubt, Marcus knew, was more corrosive than any weapon. On Overin Prime, Ralph watched it all unfold from a distance. He tracked the shift in media, the subtle rise in pro-Earth sentiment, the growing reluctance of systems to share data with the Gorthak. He didn't call it manipulation. He called it counterbalance. Because for too long, the Council's power had been shaped by fear of war, not fear of consequences. Earth had simply introduced accountability. Deadly efficient accountability. He drafted a new report for his leadership, one with no sugarcoating. Earth is not building an empire. They're building equilibrium, but if pushed, they will replace fear with extinction. Back on Earth, Marcus stood before a quiet crowd in an underground hall beneath Geneva. No cameras, just soldiers, analysts and operatives. People who had kept the peace through silence, steel, and strategy. "We are not the aggressors," he said calmly. "We don't want conquest. We want order because this galaxy has mistaken disorder for freedom, and we've seen where that leads." He paused, eyes scanning the room. They thought we were peacekeepers. They were wrong. A breath, "We are patient killers, and patience is running out." The moment Earth had been preparing for finally arrived. The Gorak matted their move. Under the cover of a minor border skirmish near the Tannic Belt, they activated Protocol Ashfire, a centuries-old plan involving coordinated cyber strikes, sabotage of Terran Kamar rays, and targeted assassinations of human diplomats across neutral systems. It was fast, brutal, and surgically executed. 3 Earth-aligned listening posts went dark. 1 Terran mining station exploded in orbit over KTH-6, no survivors. And the most visible blow, Earth's ambassador to the Council, a kind man named Darien Cho, was found dead in his quarters aboard the neutral station Col 9. No forced entry, no signs of struggle, just poison. The message was clear. Enough patience. Time to bleed. But the Gorthak made one fatal mistake. They believed Earth would respond. They didn't understand Earth had already prepared. On the same day as the attacks, Marcus Vale convened with General Hassan and Captain Ryle inside Earth's deep strategic cores. The room, cold steel, endless screens and silence, held no panic, no alarms. Just quiet movements as black protocols long buried beneath layers of diplomatic fronts came online. "What's the directive?" Rill asked. Her eyes were sharp, her hand resting near her sidearm, even though she knew she wouldn't need it. Marcus didn't look up from the console. His fingers moved with careful rhythm. "Great protocol," he said. Hassan raised an eyebrow. "You're sure?" Marcus nodded slowly. "They want a war of visibility, speeches, heroics. We'll give them a war they'll never even see coming." He turned to a display labeled Shadow Assets, Unlock Permission. He authorized it. Across hundreds of systems. Across moons, asteroids, refueling stations, deep space hospitals, cargo ships, mining crews, and forgotten satellites. Earth's silent force activated. These were not soldiers. They were ghosts, engineers who'd been embedded for years. Janitors who'd memorized access codes. Diplomats who carried weapons in their bloodstreams. I embedded in Council tech so subtly not even quantum scans picked it up. They didn't rise, they awakened. And in 72 hours the Gorthak would learn the